Valley. Between 8,000 to 10,000 acres have already burned. Some structures are reportedly on fire. In Butte County, the campfire, which started this morning, has forced thousands to evacuate. Police radio traffic shows just how bad the situation is right now.
Any units, Feather River Hospital, we've got 4 people trapped in the basement. Sounds like it's surrounded by fire. They're safe underneath, but they can't get out.
Over 18,000 acres have now burned. In Thousand Oaks, the investigation continues into last night's mass killing at a nightclub. 12 people were killed, including a Ventura County Sheriff's Sergeant who was responding to the shooting. Dylan Short was inside the bar when it happened.
Within the first minute, there was 2 people that tried to approach him, and he pretty much stepped back, and he had shot 3 people within probably 3 to 4 seconds.
The shooter took his own life. Steve Clausen, California News.
So much to watch, so little time for sports fans in the fall. It's this week's Geico Sports Now. I can't believe the weekend went by so fast. It's hard to prioritize college football on Saturday, the pros on Sunday, then you throw in hockey and basketball, and it seems like sports fans need an extra day off, which means honey-do lists all across the country are collecting dust hanging on the fridge this time of year. And ain't nobody got time for that.
Geico could assist you in saving lots of money on your car insurance. Go right now to geico.com for all the details.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love, somebody.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Welcome to another edition of The More You Know, where every day is a great day. I'm Andrew Caravella. National Cappuccino Day. Of course, November 8th would be such an awesome day like that. A nice hot cup of cappuccino is perfect on a frosty morning. I mean, traditionally prepared with espresso hot milk and steamed milk foam, a cappuccino is an Italian coffee drink. Fun fact, late 1990s to early 2000s, cappuccinos became popular in the U.S. concurrent with the boom in the American coffee industry. The start of the 21st century, a modified shortcut version of the cappuccino started being served at fast food chains. I mean, you know, also, if you go to a Starbucks or like a Coffee Bean, a skilled barista may create artistic shapes like leaves or hearts while he or she is pouring milk on top of the espresso coffee. Now, while steaming the milk, you must pay close attention to attain the correction ratio of foam, thus making the cappuccino one of the most difficult espresso-based beverages to make properly. It's almost like I've done this before. Also on this day, famous chef Gordon Ramsay was born, so happy birthday to him. Also, Mickey Adams, an English footballer and manager. Died on this day, Doc Holliday, American gambler and dentist. I'm Andrew Caravella, and this has been The More You Know.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@KCAAradio.com.
KCAA.
Live from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 105.6. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Starr, along with someone who has a great voice for radio, a great face for TV because she's on television right now, and somebody who's probably one of the best sports people I know in the county, and the person also works with me. So I'd like to introduce Miss Christine Delano.
Well, thank you, Rob.
It's happy to be here today. Although I would like to know the score of the Pittsburgh-Carolina game if anybody has it. So.
Maybe Nick can check that out for us. He's doing it right now. He's buzzing by.
Speaking of a sports fan and all.
So this is your first time doing this. Now let me tell the audience you have done commercials for us.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
And did a great job on that. And Chris Davies on vacation. He's out in Florida visiting one of his daughters.
Yep, he's on vacation this week, and then I will be on vacation next week.
Yes, he's going to be gone next week as well, but we're going to have our ACT show next week, so that'll be good. Hey, first thing I'd like to put my condolences out from the Water Zone and Toro for the, most people probably heard about the mass shooting we had yesterday up in Thousand Oaks. Some crazy guy went in and shot 12 people plus himself. And I know a police officer went in and got shot and died. And there were some not undercover, but off-duty policemen who really risked their lives by standing in front of people. And but he shot 12 people plus himself. And I don't know, I teared up coming to work this morning listening to it. One father, it was a lot of college kids going to this place in Thousand Oaks, and he has a tracking system where to find out where his daughter is all the time. And the phone tracker said her phone was on the floor of the dance floor at this club early in the morning. So he assumed either she dropped it, hopefully, and ran out of the place, or the worst. And unfortunately, it was the worst. So anyway, our thoughts and prayers go out to those people and their families. I mean, it's I can't even tell you how devastating that can be. I never experienced that, and I don't ever want to, and I can't even imagine anybody else going through that. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely heartbreaking. My daughter played Cal Lu, so I spent many sports seasons up there, so I'm very familiar with that area. And
so anyway,
heartbreaking.
So we're sorry to everybody, and we do have give you our thoughts and prayers, and there's nothing else. There's no words that I can even offer any more than that. So anyway, we'll continue. So yes, you're going to be here today and substitute, and we got some great people. We have one of our first guests, who's our always wonderful guest, Miss Chris Austin, who's the purveyor of Maven's Notebook and who knows everything about water legislation that's happening. And maybe she can give us a little bit of what's going on, because we did have an election the other day, and our governor changed and some other people, and I don't know how that's going to affect. So, Chris, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great. And do you have a rule that your sidekick now needs to have the name of Chris?
Yeah. Somebody
filling into that.
I know. I mean, that one show we had 3 Chris's on, and so yeah, I guess I'm continuing that. I especially picked her because I picked her because she has a great voice and she looks good on TV. And
you know what too? She's a sports announcer.
Yes.
And what better job for calling California water stuff than a sports announcer, because it's kind of like a football game that never ends, or maybe even a boxing match at some times, you know. So it's like, welcome, you're in the right crowd in the water world. Trust me, there's a lot going on, especially this week.
Well, perfect. And it's since I'm Christina with a K, so I actually threw everybody for a loop with the other C's in the Chris and Chris's. And I'm happy to report that the Steelers are winning 21-7.
Wow.
So therefore, I'm going to hopefully be 1-0 in the football pool for the week.
Hey, and there you go.
I thought Rob just pulled me in tonight because I was wearing a blue shirt and we matched.
Yeah.
So
I called her husband this morning. He told me what she was wearing so we could match. But just so everybody knows, Christina works for Toro with us, and she is the?
I am the materials manager and service center manager for Toro.
And as young as she looks, she's a newbie to Toro. How long have you been at Toro?
I have been at Toro for 22 years, and actually over 22 years. I actually started in finance back in the day and kind of just kept moving on different spots as I had the opportunities, and lucky I have been, and here I am.
There we go. So hopefully she'll have a lot to contribute today. She'll probably throw some statistics at us or whatever. So tell me, I saw this thing with, it said Newsom and Brown waded into this thing about the water, and can you give us a little?
Yeah, there's really 2 big stories, and that's one of them. The State Water Board has been set to make this decision on increasing flows in the tributaries to the San Joaquin River. And they've indicated that they're going to do similarly so for the Sacramento River. And these are the main rivers that feed into the Delta. And, I mean, we got to be honest here. You know, there have been so much diversions of fresh water from these rivers that, you know, they run dry.
Right.
And sometimes even so much, you know, is going on, these rivers actually run in reverse. So, I mean, there is a real problem here, and it extends beyond the Delta smelt, and it extends to salmon. And we all eat, you know, or lots of people eat California salmon. So these are really important issues. But also, you know, dependent on these diversions of water from these rivers are the farms. And these farms also make it possible for us to live in the city. So it's really a very conflicting thing. You know, how can we still divert water for agriculture to support us all and support food, you know, not only to the nation, to the world, you know, but also, you know, salmon is important too. They're important as a food source. They're important for the orcas, even swimming out in the ocean. That's one of their main diets. And there's a whole industry that's based on salmon too. So there's people that depend on salmon too. So it's really a very conflicting thing. And the State Water Board has been trying to say, you know, you've got to leave more water in the rivers. And they have been really conflicted on that. Back about, 4 years ago, they came out with their first proposal, and they said, you know, we need you to leave 35% of the unimpaired flows, sort of meaning what water that everyone feels would be in the river if nobody diverted anything and there weren't dams.
Right.
And they call that unimpaired flows. So they said 35% of unimpaired flows. And the community just went nuts. Oh, my God, that's too much. Oh, you'll put us out of business. Oh, such economic hardship. And so the water board went back and deliberated, and then they came back, and I have to say, this actually surprised me. They came back and they said, okay, 40%. So then everybody really went wild. Yeah. And they actually set the date. The date they were supposed to vote on it on the 7th, which I believe was yesterday, Wednesday. And they actually tried to put this up in a decision in August. And they said we're going to continue it for 2 months because the state said, look, we're working on a voluntary agreement with people on the San Joaquin River tributaries and give us some more time. So they were all set to vote on yesterday, and the governor and the governor-elect Newsom, as soon as it seemed to be almost as soon as the polls closed and Newsom was declared the winner, that they sent this letter out to the State Water Board. They asked for 30 more days. They said continue it to December. And the State Water Board itself was actually really conflicted because they're like, you know, we've been only trying to do this update to the plan since literally, and I'm not kidding here, 2009. So they're like, you know, we're coming up on 8-9 years here, and we really need to make a decision and move forward. But the governor is requesting this. They had the Department of Fish and Wildlife Director Chuck Bonham in. He's saying we won't ask for another continuance. But it was, they were very conflicted. But in the end, they decided that they would grant these 30 more days. But it was really, they were very conflicted about doing it.
But the governor's the boss, right?
Well, yeah, but regulatory processes are regulatory processes. And the governor can change the appointees that might be there perhaps but he can't mandate what happens in a regulatory process. Mm-hmm. So he can only request. Mm. And so he requested, and the State Water Board said, okay, 30 more days, but we're going to vote on this in December. Mm. So that was the big news of yesterday. But the real stunner...
Oh, my gosh, it's a stunner? Because that was kind of stunning to me.
Well, yeah, that wasn't stunning enough. The real stunner actually came today with the Delta Tunnels project, which is called also known as the California Water Fix project. And this is the project to build tunnels underneath the Delta to make to ensure reliability of deliveries to not only Southern California but the Bay Area and also some southern, San Joaquin Valley irrigation district. The biggest contractor for state water project that this would affect is Metropolitan Water District, which serves most of the Southern California area, and the next biggest chunk goes to Kern County. And so, this is drawing water from the Delta. So there's this little agency out there called the Delta Stewardship Council that has this thing called the Delta Plan, which they were mandated by the legislature to develop. So they did, and they passed it in 2013. And basically, any state or local agency, federal agencies are exempted, that are going to plan to do a project in the Delta need to certify that they are consistent with this Delta Plan. And so the Department of Water Resources said that their Delta Tunnels project is consistent with the Delta Plan, and nine different appeals were filed. And they had a hearing on this back at the end of October, and they came out today with their draft determination after this hearing, and they actually said that the staff now, the council has not voted on this, but the staff said that the project as submitted is not consistent with the Delta Plan, and so they were recommending sending it back to the Department of Water Resources.
Wow.
And whoever thought about this? I mean, I thought maybe it was going to be a split vote because they've had all these recusals and all that. I did not see that one coming. I was surprised, shocked.
Wow.
But
and
whoever thought?
Don't these people talk with each other and get it all straightened before they go do these things and try to finalize it?
No, not obviously. Really. If you think that agencies talk to each other, they're kind of like opposite teams on the football field, right? They're all trying to advance their balls and hoping that they're going to get around the other guys. It's like, no. I was actually shocked and surprised that this is the direction they decided to go. The big race is that they want to get all the approvals for these tunnels underneath the Delta done before the governor leaves office, but it just isn't going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
It just drags and drags. Hey, I heard that there's some emerging groundwater and sea level rise in the San Francisco Bay.
Oh my word! This was one of the most interesting presentations that I sat in at the Bay Delta Science Conference. And the gist of this is that, in the San Francisco Bay Area, they have a lot of areas where the groundwater table is not too far underneath the land. Right. They have a lot of shallow groundwater there. It's not used for drinking, but it exists there. And they've done some studies on what would happen with sea level rise. Now, freshwater groundwater aquifers are connected to the sea at the coast. There is sort of there's a density to saline water, and it kind of tends to go underneath the fresh water because it's denser, so it settles down. But there's a connection there, and if you pump too much groundwater at the coast, you'll get seawater intrusion into the aquifer. So, but what's interesting is they did this study around the San Francisco Bay, and they looked at what would happen with sea level rise on just the shallow groundwater level tables that exist there. And a lot of the development that's happened there has happened on fill. And they came to the conclusion that as the sea level rises, it's going to push the groundwater levels up in these shallow areas, and that's going to destabilize infrastructure, buildings, roadways, all sorts of things. And this is going to affect areas that are behind the levees. I mean, everyone is kind of saying, okay, we'll build levees to prevent the sea itself from coming in and inundating these areas, but they're not accounting for the fact that the sea level rise will put pressure on the aquifers, and groundwater is going to start percolating upwards in areas behind these levees. Wow. And planners need to start taking this into consideration. I mean, it was one of the most interesting presentations I attended at the Bay Delta Science Conference. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was really interesting nonetheless.
Well, there was a story on the internet today, and it sounds like a hoax, but they tested these people with hypnosis, and they seem to say the correct thing. These are two older gentlemen that back in the 40s, they were on some naval testing ship. And supposedly they fell off the ship and they were transported to the future, and then they came back.
For real?
It was on the story was on the internet, so you take it or leave it. But they mentioned all this stuff.
It must be real if it was on the internet.
Yeah. And it said, but again, they did hypnosis and they said what happened. They went out. I think they went to 2139 or something. They came back and said, yeah, Florida totally receded and San Francisco's gone and all this stuff. It was kind of funny to read it, I guess. Who knows?
Don't tell my husband. He'll be that one.
Well,
person.
hopefully we're not national, but who would ever want to live in Florida? I don't know. It just confounds me.
I don't know either.
No humidity for me.
No, it's hot.
No humidity, sea level rise, invasive Bermuda python, alligators,
hurricanes.
And if you happen to catch, hurricanes.
One creepy sister-in-law. There's all kinds of stuff.
And they said also too that the most shark attacks happen in Florida.
Oh, great!
So it's like another reason not to live in Florida. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
California, at least we got earthquakes, and they only happen every so often.
And we do have sharks, and that happens.
I like earthquakes. It scares people away, but they don't scare me. So people get scared of earthquakes, and they're like, I don't even move. Earthquake happens, like, whatever.
I survived the Northridge earthquake. I'm still standing.
Well,
exactly.
Well, that's good. Well, Chris, we appreciate you being on this week and giving us the news. Next week we got our ag show, so just to let you know that ahead of time. But we do appreciate that, and we always go to you for the best in the news. And we got a great person coming up next. He's a gentleman from the Irrigation Association, and he's going to give us some valuable information. We're going to query him with a bunch of questions and see how he does. But he's a good guy.
All right.
He's a good guy. His name is John Farner. So anyway, we're going to take a break. But first, we gonna let Christine do a little thing here about what's coming up with the Irrigation Association. They have an event, and she's kind of doing an on-air commercial.
Well, it was nice meeting you. You won't want to miss out on this year's biggest and best show dedicated to irrigation, and it's headed to Long Beach this December 3rd through the 7th. The 2018 Irrigation Show and Education Conference showcases the latest advancements in irrigation technology and practices, while offering different education classes, seminars, and technical programs covering all areas of turf and landscape irrigation. Check out the latest industry advancements, gain expertise in your profession, and make valuable business connections. Learn more at www.irrigationshow.org.
And everybody check that out. We're going to go to our real commercials here in a second, so we'll see you in a minute.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
If you knew there was a pipe cement that works better than the one you're currently using, is better for you and the environment, and costs the same or less, would you buy it? Oh, no-brainer, right? Weldon, the trusted leader in solvent cements for over 60 years, is pleased to introduce a new line of solvent cements that does all that. Introducing the Eco Series line of solvent cements for PVC piping systems. Not only does it work great and set fast, it also has 30% lower solvent emissions and less smelly fumes, a better workplace environment when you're installing pipes. But don't just take our word for it. Eco Series products are the only solvent cements that are Green Seal certified for environmental innovation for effective performance, improved working conditions, and for use with potable water. Now available in a medium-bodied fast-setting blue formula, 905 Eco, and a regular-bodied fast-setting clear formula, 900 Eco. Pick up a can today from your local distributor and see, smell, and feel the difference, just like Joe Sweat, president of Sunrise Irrigation, did. He said, after using Weldon's 905 Eco, we immediately noticed the application was smooth and there was noticeably less odor than other blue solvent cements on the market. The guys love it. To learn more about Eco Solvent Cements from Weldon, visit the website at www.weldon.com or call the Technical Service Hotline at 877-477-8327. That's 877-477-8327.
Time to take a water break and talk some water. Irrigation. Such a refreshing topic. As more and more markets face water restrictions, your customers may be hungry, or should I say thirsty, for water-saving products. For new installations, add options like drip irrigation, controllers that respond to weather data, pressure-regulating heads, or heads with check valves. They all provide easy ways to differentiate your bids and win more jobs. Or for an extra stream of revenue, offer existing customers upgrades like high-efficiency nozzles, rotary nozzles, or Wi-Fi-based controllers. Because when you help your customers save water, you make a world of difference for the earth and your bottom line at the same time. We'll drink to that.
Hello, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone Show with Rob and Christina. And now we're going to bring somebody who I know for a couple years, and he's really a great guy. And I was going to make a hat for him. John, how are you today?
Good, Rob. How are you?
Good. I hear you're in Kansas.
I'm in Kansas City right now. Little birdie told you that? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. we were gonna make you a hat, but I didn't know how well it would go off here. It was going to say, "Make irrigation great again."
Well, as long as it's red with white lettering.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
We have to be careful about stuff like that. So
yeah, we do.
We can't do that.
Hey, real quick, I know you guys were talking about Florida during your last segment. It is snowing in Kansas City right now. For your local weather on the 9 here on KCAA. It's snowing in Kansas City. 3 inches of snow on the ground right now.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
From where I came from. Yeah.
And you can't wait to get out here for the IA show in December.
I assume it's not snowing in Long Beach.
No.
That's my guess.
No, it'll be about 85 degrees. You can bring your sunglasses and your hat and your copper tone. And
it was a little windy out here today, though.
Yeah, well, I'll take that over snow any day.
Oh, heck yeah.
So John is the Director of Governmental Affairs and Public Relations with the Irrigation Association. I thought just for our listeners, maybe you can give a brief description on what's the mission of the IA?
So our mission is simple, Rob. It's to promote efficient irrigation. So very similar to what you all do on the Water Zone, we do on a national trade show perspective, and it's really educate the public, educate those within the irrigation industry, promote best practices for irrigation in agricultural, landscape, turf, golf, sports, you name it. Anything that's emitting water to the ground to grow something out of it, we're involved in that.
Great. I know that obviously you're involved with governmental affairs, and I was gonna talk a little about that and some of the strategic initiatives you guys. But now that we had a new national election, what is that going to do? What's that going to do? How's that affect everybody?
I think that you're going to see, this is very similar to what folks have been hearing on the news, but you're going to see a lot more oversight initiatives and investigations coming out of the House side. It was already steering in that direction. We're waiting to see who is actually the Speaker of the House. I know Nancy Pelosi is making a run for it again, but especially a lot of the newer members that were just elected that are Democrats are not in favor of Nancy Pelosi becoming Speaker once again. So we're going to wait till that all plays out. We're going to wait to see who the committee chairs are for each of the committees. As it affects agriculture, as it affects environment, as it affects water use, I think that we're going to continue to work with Congress and see where there's some bipartisan opportunities to work with the Senate to get to the president's desk over the next 2 years until the presidential election.
Right.
But hopefully all the oxygen isn't sucked out of the Capitol with the investigations that will occur over the next few years.
It's kind of disheartening to think that we vote for people to take care of the government and the people. And, whatever side anybody's on, I try to make this an unbiased show. And, the fact that the economy's doing really well and everything else, to me, it would seem, hey, continue to fix the government. And, sure, you can go after the president. The president can go after the other side of what they did. That's not getting us anywhere. We got to solve problems with people here that are starving, that are poor, that older people need medicine. They're worried about their Medicare. That I can't imagine anybody in California living on Social Security getting $840 to $1,400 a month. That doesn't even pay for a one-bedroom apartment, let alone food. They got so many things that we really need to do. Stop the people chase.
What we saw on Tuesday night wasn't a surprise, and it wasn't a surprise if you look at history as well. When a president is elected with his own party controlling Congress, more times that party then loses control of Congress. Now the Republicans gain seat in the Senate. What we're hoping is, and generally that's for checks and balances. People like checks and balances with the parties and the government, and we're hoping that occurs on the policy side and not necessarily on too much on the investigation side, just because we would like to continue to see a functional government, that we go back to regular order in the budget, regular order with appropriations. We look to see some bipartisan solutions with two chambers when it comes especially to agriculture policy and water policy. So that's really what we as an industry are looking for over the next 2 years.
Yeah, I particularly believe that, you're not. It looks like somebody running for an office or something. They're never going to get 100% of the votes of everybody. It's never going to be that way.
Unless you live in Russia. If you're running for president of Russia, you might.
Right.
But other than that, I think the United States it's not going to happen.
No, and I really believe that in order to sit down with each other, everybody has different opinions. So each party got to give a little to make the success for the whole of America. That's what I want to see. I don't vote for parties anymore. I vote for the individual who I think is the best to run. But it's getting scary with spending money on investigation. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it if there's a real problem and there's real stuff they got to get done. To dig into that. But we're doing good, and we're trying to get respect back from the rest of the world and everything else. But like I said, we got dirty water here in Compton. They have it in Flint, Michigan. You should see the brown water coming out. I said on our last show, the people, the EPA and the water agents came in and shut this other water company down out here. And to me, that's all they did is fire them. I would have taken these people to jail.
One of the pieces of legislation that passed Congress over the past few months with strong bipartisan support was the America's Water Infrastructure Act, and it's usually called WRDA, which is the Water Resources Development Act, and it's a water infrastructure bill. And it's good to see that water is an issue that can still maintain strong bipartisan support going through Congress. And that bill itself has a lot of opportunities, a lot of funding for infrastructure development, infrastructure upgrades, looking at what's going on in Flint, Michigan, and other cities throughout the United States where potable water is not potable. So we're hoping that momentum continues in the next Congress.
Yeah, I sure hope so. So what are some of the strategic initiatives that the IA is involved with?
Well, we just talked about one of them. We split. Our mindset is split up in two areas. One's on advocacy, Rob, and you just mentioned government affairs. It's why I live in public affairs, promoting the industry as a problem solver rather than a problem causer.
Right.
So we really focus on those two things, as well as standards and codes. And a lot of our industry, people may not know this, but a lot of water policy specifically in the residential and commercial areas, a lot of the regulations that individuals live with and the profession lives with are not decided by elected officials, nor are they even decided by regulatory officials that are employees of a state, local, or national government. They're folks that are involved in private organizations that develop standards and codes related to issues affecting water use, potable water, plumbing, irrigation, etc., that then are made mandatory by local governments and by states. So we invest a lot of our resources, time, and energy in those local or the standards and codes debate, knowing just how much those affect policy and how people irrigate, what technologies they use, et cetera. So that's a pretty high focus of ours right now.
Right, and you have a great man who works for you, does it, named Brett Meekum.
He's an office next to mine. Sometimes I bang on the wall just to annoy him a little bit. He's still there, so
I do that to Rob.
Yes, exactly. I know you folks over there do the same thing. But
it's
having that technical resource available is tremendous for the industry, as well as our membership, Rob. And, we're only as good as our members. So companies like Toro, your competitors, the dealers and distributors and contractors feed us information about what affects them and gives us the best resources that we can then convey to these decision makers.
Right.
Okay. Regarding professional development activities, could you provide us with some insight as to these various programs, such as education development, certification, and workforce development?
Yeah, so this is the other side of our industry. Of our association. So advocacy is one, and professional development is another. And this side is really increasing the level of knowledge throughout the irrigation industry to, not that we're not professional, but make us even more professional, to make us even more educated. So we are literally being the most efficient with our water use as humanly possible. And there will always be room for improvement. Nobody's perfect. Even the best one's not perfect. The best technologies have room to improve. So we really educate the industry as much as possible and offer certifications to go along with that individuals can then sell themselves in the marketplace as being certified by a national organization. They've met a standard level of education and criteria that they can do the job and do it well. And then I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask if you see like more states getting, Texas and Oregon, do you see more states getting certified, making the contractors? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so there are state licenses throughout the United States, but what we're seeing is actually licenses are being caught up in overregulation, and a lot of the states where we do have licenses, and I'll use Louisiana as one and North Carolina as another, where there have been longstanding licenses for irrigation professionals that they need to obtain in order to do the profession. That is seen as a barrier to entry in some regulators' eyes, so there have been a lot of efforts to actually do away with licensing for the irrigation profession. And licensing exists to protect the health and human safety, period, end of story. So it's not to elevate the industry. It's not to make sure you have a specific level of knowledge to enter the industry. It is to protect the safeties of humankind. And that's why you have licenses for doctors and nurses and those kind of professions. Now, the industry makes the argument that a license is needed for irrigation professionals due to our work with the potable water system. And that is a clear way for folks to protect their safety and for our industry to be licensed in order to do so. So that's one of our initiatives is to really promote that throughout the state. But along with that is a workforce concern, and the workforce concerns are throughout the United States in all kinds of industries. Manufacturing as a whole has a workforce shortage. Agriculture has a workforce shortage. The future of our workforce is a question in a lot of industries, and especially in irrigation. So identifying and promoting the next generation of workers that are working within the irrigation industry, and promoting the fact that our industry is one where someone can be successful, whether they're a contractor or they're working for a national company, and everything in between. There are a lot of careers, successful careers associated with industry, and promoting young individuals to go into the irrigation industry.
I wish the schools, the high schools, would go back to doing a lot of trades.
Yeah,
because not everybody's cut out to go to college, and I think things like automotive repair and even irrigation. I did some work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs on a private Indian school. It's like one of four in the United States, and giving them a program where they can study from being a freshman to a senior, and then hopefully by the time they graduate, they're able to go take your IA test for being a certified irrigation landscape auditor, things of that sort. And it gives and that's not a $5 or $6 job when they graduate and get that certificate, and it helps them get up to a nice jump start. And I think we need to do a lot more of that.
Yeah, and it's getting rid of the stigma attached to going into these kinds of trades or going to a community college. And a lot of the folks who have children that are of middle school and high school ages are really expecting their kids to go to a 4-year university, and anything less of that is a failure.
Right.
And that is something that we as a society need to move away from.
Right.
That not everyone needs to go to college to be successful, that there is a lot of success associated with going to a technical school or to a community college to get education. So
look what plumbers make.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, there's a lot of design and a lot of work that goes into it. And that Site One commercial that was just on just having the app and having to program and things, things are not as manual. It's all technical. So you have to have a lot of savvy to put some of this together and make it work right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Successful irrigation contractors act as engineers. There's a lot of math associated with irrigation. There's a lot of technical knowledge that is associated with irrigation, and quite frankly, you need to be a salesperson as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Skills associated with being at the irrigation contractor level. I'm not even going into what's associated at the distributor or the manufacturing level.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased on some of the distributors that we use. They actually give the people the test before they hire them, and ask what their knowledge is in irrigation. I think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So I hate going to a big box store and looking for irrigation stuff, because I'll walk in and I'll go down and get something on a weekend because I'm not at my office, and you hear these salespeople in the store and they have no clue to what they're telling the customer.
Right.
They'll say, I need a valve, and the guy never asks what kind of valve is it? Do you need? Do you what size do you want? And none of that. And they wind up, they bring it back because they bought the wrong thing, and most of them don't know the regulations. So yeah, I think that's all important.
And the United States is not like California. I know it's a shock to both of you. I hope you're sitting down.
What?
In that we don't. There is not a model water efficient landscape ordinance throughout the United States. There is not those kind of regulations throughout the United States. So we really need to get the word out to homeowners and property owners to ask the right questions when looking to hire an irrigation contractor,
right,
or landscape contractor that also does irrigation. And ask the right questions. Ask if they're certified. Ask if they're licensed. Ask these kind of questions to make sure they have a level of knowledge associated with the work that goes into an efficient irrigation system.
Oh,
exactly.
Absolutely. That's I'm glad the IA. I know Toro is a founding member of that, and we're very proud to be that. And we see tons of things that it's doing, and we certainly stand behind it. I know you don't have to be a member to buy some of your publications that you do. And I know you do, and I'll talk about the upcoming show in a second. But you guys print up a whole bunch of make available a whole bunch of really good books that even the DIY homeowner should take a look at, because it's like you said, they got to learn to ask the questions. But most of the people don't know anything about how a valve works, what's a solenoid, is there a difference between an AC and DC? They just don't have a clue. or
wire, yeah.
Oh, even worse, I see people at the big box stores going into, drip is the key word today, right?
Yeah,
so they sell them the drip thing, but they forget to tell them, hey, you need a pressure regulator. Oh, and by the way, you probably want to buy a filter for that. And people don't understand, why do I need to spend the extra money to buy a filter? Well, those little tiny emitter holes, they're little, and any piece of little dirt's going to get caught in those things.
Robert, Christine, I'll answer your question, but let me go into a little detail about today. So I'm attending the National Association of Farm Broadcasters meeting here in Kansas City, Missouri. So I've been on the radio all day today with various radio stations throughout the United States, and one of them is based out of Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And Nebraska, big irrigated state.
Right, big farming.
It's a big farming state, a lot of farming, a lot of agriculture, and a lot of it is under center pivot irrigation. And the gentleman who interviewed me asked about drip irrigation and it being more efficient than pivot irrigation. And I know Toro manufactures drip irrigation, but that's not necessarily a question I want to answer from the Irrigation Association's perspective on a radio station in Nebraska. So the comment you made about drip irrigation being the magic four-letter word these days is one that's resonating throughout the United States. And it's one where, yeah, it's efficient, but it's not always the solution. There's a portfolio of technologies out there that need to be taken into consideration based on what you're growing, soil type, topography, and that's for landscape or agriculture. So,
Right. Exactly.
So anyway, but yeah, our educational materials, irrigation.org is our website. We have a store on there. Just click on store. It'll take you to all of our publications. And like I mentioned earlier, irrigation can get real technical real quick. And I know this show has gone into some technical aspects of irrigation, and other times you've kind of taken a big 30,000 view perspective on irrigation and everything in between. And our books and our educational materials pretty much do the same thing. Specifically to our educational materials, I'll point out two of them. One is the Irrigation Association actually publishes what I call the Encyclopedia of Irrigation, and it's called Irrigation, and it's the 6th edition of that book. It is about 3 or 4 inches thick. Yep. It does not read like a novel. It reads like an encyclopedia, a reference book. But if you have any questions at all about anything irrigation, opening that book, going to this section and reading about it, about agriculture, landscape, turf, sports, whatever it is, it's in Irrigation 6th edition. That's a great reference point for anybody who is interested in irrigation to look at that. I think, and go ahead. I know you read it every night before you go to bed, Rob. So,
He probably does.
It's really funny. I cannot read novels. My wife used to joke on me when I'm flying overseas somewhere, 10 hours on a plane or longer, and she says, "Here, I'll get you some books." I go, "I can't read novels. I don't want to read 500 pages to find out who killed what." I have to read, no, seriously, I read the technical manuals because I want it instantaneous. I want to hear and I want to know what the subject is, and, get to the point and get that done. And I think in this industry, even, I'll give you a good one. We put on seminars for homeowners associations and things of that sort with property managers, because property managers hire landscape people and they come in all the time and say, "Oh, your valve's bad, you need a new valve." And, they charge them hundreds of dollars to do that. Well, maybe it's just the diaphragm that needs to be changed, or maybe it's just the solenoid, or, but you're right when you said earlier, they need to ask some pertinent questions, and they have to know what questions to ask so they can say if they're getting the right person who can deliver that. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right. And yeah, I encourage you folks who are interested, check out that store. Anywhere from principles to irrigation to landscape auditing and everything in between. So it's actually pretty good stuff on there.
No. So let's talk about this upcoming little exhibit you're doing.
Yeah, so it's teeny tiny. So I know you've been a strong supporter of attending this in the past, and I know the Water Zone has broadcasted from that show in the past, and I believe you're doing so again this year.
Yep.
But it's the week of December 3rd through 7th. The actual trade show is on December 5th and 6th, the Wednesday and Thursday. It is the one-stop shop to see all aspects of irrigation technologies on Showcase. From anything from sprinklers to drip to controllers, even some lighting is out there now. So really, it's if you're interested in irrigation technologies, want to go touch, feel them, see them, talk to the experts that are behind these products to find the nuances, exactly how they work and what settings, this is the place to go.
Yep.
So is there any special speakers or any special events that are happening during the show?
So we have there's all kinds of different stuff. So we, of course, have our educational seminars and classes. So if folks want to attend those, specifically contractors who want to learn more and become a bit more educated and knowledgeable about the latest irrigation trends, technologies, best management practices, there's a portfolio of classes, technical sessions available.
Anything new and special for 2018?
Wow, that really, I have to go back and look, Christina. We do have some new technical sessions available. I believe we have some of smart controllers that are new this year that have not been done in the past, because that's a technology that continues to evolve. So I do know there's some sessions or some technical sessions on that specific technology that I would highly recommend, because that's one thing that we hear from customers all the time, is that our contractor is not fully aware of the controller technologies that are out there. So to set yourself aside or apart from the rest of the competitors,
Exactly.
to really look into those technologies.
So everybody just needs to go to www.irrigationshow.org.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the information is on there. Our keynote speaker, Rob or Christina, are you guys basketball fans at all? NBA, college?
I'm every sport.
Anything?
I'm an every sport fan. So
Yes.
I actually met Pau Gasol.
Did you really?
Yes, coming out of the bathroom at the Dodger Dugout Club.
Very cool. That's random. That's
very random, but
I won't ask why you were
I have
near
a
the
photo.
why were you near the men's room?
Well, no. It was just kind of, that was the way back to the buffet line. Okay, so who's the speaker?
Yeah, his name's Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton is a 7'4" NBA All-Star who played with John Stockton and Karl Malone for the Utah Jazz.
Nice.
These are the days of Michael Jordan,
yeah.
Barkley, those days of the NBA. And Mark is a speaker now who talks about how he went from being a 20-year-old auto mechanic and no future in basketball to being an NBA All-Star. And I guess being 7'4" helped that a lot, but he needed to have some energy and drive behind that effort. So he's going to be our keynote speaker, which we're really excited about as well. So it's going to be a good one to check out.
Maybe he can come out to L.A. and talk to the Lakers' new superstar, who's really not doing real well with the Lakers.
I don't think it's his fault.
No, I don't think it's his fault either. He needs a team with him.
He needs a team to act like a team.
I was in L.A. the day that the LeBron James jersey showed up at the Staples Center, and I walked by to the convention center one day. They weren't there. The next day they were there. Let me tell you, there's no speaker that LeBron James is coming to L.A. with those jerseys being on display at the Staples Center.
Oh, absolutely. But, it's just like when Kobe was there. Kobe was the main guy, and nobody really wanted to play around him, or didn't play around him. I shouldn't say don't want to, but didn't do the thing.
So we're excited about Mark being here. It should be good. It's not a water focus, but it's going to be one that talks about business and inspiration. And I think the messages he sends can be brought home to whether you work for a manufacturer like Toro or you're an irrigation contractor.
I think that's important.
So, that's
important for all the Okay, so who can? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Who can attend the show?
It's open to anybody. It's pretty cheap if you just want to walk the show floor. Just a few dollars to come in and walk the show floor, check things out. So it's really, we market it and we focus it towards those that are in the irrigation industry. But if you are a water provider, if you own a lot of acreage or you have a big property and you're interested in investing a lot in irrigation, I would recommend checking it out. It's not only for those who are employed by the irrigation industry. It's really for anyone who touches or is involved in the irrigation industry. That could be a landscape contractor, landscape architect. It could be a plumber. It could be, like I said, a property owner, water provider, irrigation district, you name it. They would all see value in it.
I'm going to go back to having that speaker. I think a lot of times people start having a business, they have a mindset that they're going to do this and I'm going to do, but having somebody to kind of motivate them to the whole perspective on a business and what is required for a business and the tools for that. I mean, there's so many opportunities that you guys are providing, and that's a huge piece of it. I'm glad you guys are providing that.
But even for the people not in this industry, as John was saying,
well, I want to go.
No, I know that, but you're in the industry and you see this stuff every single day. But think about it. You can't see some of this technology, or you won't see this technology at the big box stores at all.
I know.
No, you won't.
Because I go look for something when I forget it.
Yeah.
Or I break something, or the dogs eat it.
And after Mark Eaton, Rob can stand out in the hallway and read 6th edition to everybody who wants to learn exactly about irrigation after the speaker. So that'll be helpful too.
Oh, absolutely. So aside from the shows that you do here, but you also do webinars and you also have podcasting. Can you tell us a little about that for a few minutes left?
Wow, yeah. So I appreciate that. So we have a lot of webinars, education focused, some just generally about the industry and what's new in irrigation, what's affecting policies, things like that. And we have a not as big as the Water Zone, but we have our own little podcast as well. It's called Bringing Water to Life. We're available primarily on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. I think we're on Spotify now as well. So you can check us out there. We go into a little bit of detail on the national perspective of irrigation from the industry's perspective, ag, turf, landscape. And so, yeah, we've revamped it a little bit moving forward. We have 2 magazines now as well. So Irrigation and Green Industry magazine is a publication of the Irrigation Association. It's a landscape magazine, as well as Irrigation Today, which is an ag magazine. And those 2 editors-in-chief are going to be my new co-pilots for that podcast, and still have on other folks like Brent Meekum and others join us once in a while. But it's pretty exciting, and hopefully, after you're finished listening to all the episodes of the Water Zone, you can check us out as well.
No, I was going to say, we should do a joint one on maybe the ag or the other, and we can do it together.
Yeah,
we can do it live. And
absolutely.
I think that.
Hey, you name it, man. I'm there.
Good. No, I know you.
The dream come true.
It's because you want to get out of the snow.
Good point.
No, John, John's a super guy ever since I met him, and so is everybody. Deborah Hamlin, who's the executive director, Brent Meekum, and all the rest of the staff that I can't even remember.
Yeah, we have a great talented staff. We're lucky to have it, and I think it just shows how strong the industry is to have a talented staff who wants to work for the association representing the industry. Yep. It's a reflection, really.
Yeah. Well, we were very proud of that, and we love supporting you guys, and appreciate that. Any other words that you want to give to our listening audience?
No, I appreciate you having us on. Check out the Irrigation Show if you have a chance. irrigationshow.org. Everything about irrigation is at irrigation.org. So check it out there. My contact information is on there, and if you have any questions, reach out. Let us know.
Hey, on the government affairs things, can anybody they find out exactly all the things that you're doing as you're doing it? You publish that on your website, or?
So we provide some issue updates on some of our big ticket items like the Farm Bill, as well as WaterSense, which is now authorized, by the way. That is a permanent program within the United States EPA. We do update regularly on that. We are looking at some more opportunities to put some information out directly associated with weekly updates or biweekly updates on government affairs. So I think going into 2019 in the next Congress, we'll be doing a lot more in that aspect.
Excellent. That's a good resource. You guys are a great resource and absolutely great for the industry. We do appreciate everything you do. So
I appreciate what you're doing too. It's great. I always enjoy being on.
Well, I do have a question, and it's a weather-related question since you're there, and maybe have seen some news. Is it supposed to be like snowy there for a couple weeks, or?
No. It's supposed to. No, it's not. I think this is an anomaly right now, and it's still snowing now, but I think it's typical Kansas City weather where it's snowing today. It could be 45.
Good. My friend's getting married there in a couple weeks, and I just want to make sure.
There you go. I think they call it for 2 feet of snow. So good luck.
Perfect.
Was it an outside wedding?
No, it's our church.
That's right.
Right.
God, I hope
Thank
not.
you.
It's freezing out here.
Well, John, fly home safe, and then we'll see you in a couple weeks out here in Long Beach.
Thanks, man.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye, Christina.
Okay, everybody, so that was the show, and Christine, thank you for joining.
Well, thanks for having me.
Sorry, just so many Chris's and Christines. And
I was the first Christina
yes,
at
you
Toro.
were. And so I have to say this, because Chris and I always say it at the end of the show, the most important thing to do this week, think blue. Good night, everybody. Have a good week.
Bye.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.